that the decision for Transcentury to list by the end of the year? What's prompted this decision?
It's been a process that we have been pursuing since about 2008. So in 2008, we actually became a public company in Kenya, and at that point in time, our company's shares were traded on the over-the-counter market here in Nairobi. So this is really a natural progression from the OTC exchange across to the main exchange.
Part of the progression, how much capital are you looking to raise?
No, it's like we're looking at different possibilities, but this is likely to be a listing by introduction. So actually what will happen is we're moving shares from the over-the-counter market to the main exchange and not necessarily raising capital as an IPO.
Well, taking a look at what investors have to look forward to here, I mean, of course, looking at your portfolio, pretty diverse with stakes from companies in Kenya to Zambia to Uganda as well. What drives your investment strategy?
Well, if you look at the portfolio, the core of it is infrastructure, and more specifically, it's really across three segments: power, transport, and engineering. These are the real key areas of growth that we've identified across the continent, and where we really see a lot of potential. And that potential derives from the fact that there's a lot of demand for these services. I think it's pretty well proven that the demand for power, for example, is pretty overwhelming. But for whatever reasons, there seem to be constraints in terms of the ability to supply some of these services. So from our perspective, we see a lot of growth, a lot of under-penetration, and a lot of possibility for growth in terms of our subsidiary companies that focus in these areas.
We've got this natural assumption having surfaced that investors who saw the last IPO in 2008, and that being with Cooperative Bank, will welcome this one with vigor. I mean, if you have to sell the company's investment case right now, what's the major investment merit as you see it?
Look, I mean, Transcentury has always been a very high growth company. We started life in 1997. And if you look at our growth over the last 7 years, then we have a compound annual growth rate north of 50% and continuing to grow. So this is a very high growth stock, and there's a lot of potential in the portfolio still, and a lot of potential in terms of further expansion.
Let's drill down into that portfolio. What do you see being the company's major cash cow?
Well, today the major platform in terms of cash generative businesses come from our power infrastructure division. That division basically manufactures cables, transformers, and switchgear. This is serving several different markets. The large markets are the construction industry, where we've seen a huge housing boom across the region. The second market is the utilities, where we've seen large expansion in terms of electrification programs. And the third key market is our industrial clients, where we're saving a lot of mining clients and oil and gas clients.
So for those who would like to get a handle on this opportunity once the company lists, I mean, what do you see being the minimum cash requirement that an investor would have to put in order to get a stake?
No, we see once we're listed, then the shares will freely trade on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. At that point in time, I think the minimum denomination is 100 shares. So this really will be available to all types of investors, including small retail investors.